Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back with you for some post-finale recap of Survivor 48 as we look back at the season that was with a great guest. Just 2 years ago, we saw her have a remarkable run in Survivor 44. Here she is, part of a not-so-secret duo. It's Frannie Marin. Frannie, how are you?
Oh, I'm fabulous. A remarkable run. Wow, I've been living for that moment for you to say that for the past 2 years.
A remarkable
Thank you.
run. Yes, and
Yeah.
Frannie, how are you?
I'm doing incredibly well. Another great season of Survivor in the books. Excited to talk about it. And I'm excited to have a very hyped summer building up for 49 and then eventually 50. So the heart is pounding. I'm very excited.
Okay, so you have like a lot of Survivor excitement for what's to come here in these next few months.
Yes, it's a hype girl summer. It's no hot girl summer. I'm speculating all summer. This is what I live for, the anticipation of the next season. It's so
Yeah.
good.
Okay. Well, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about what's to come as we get into everything from Wednesday night. And I just had an email across my desk of big news. Survivor finale is CBS most watched Wednesday in a year.
Oh,
Up
wait, that's
24% week to week. Most watched Wednesday since May 22nd, 2024. The Survivor 46 finale.
Okay. Why did you get an email about that?
I'm on the press list.
Oh, okay. I'm a bit of a flex.
It's like, why are you telling me? Like, I'm telling everybody.
Yeah. They're like, Rob, you got to get this out there. Nobody knows. That's big. I mean, they were doing a lot of promotion, I feel, for this season. Jeff really hyped it up. I saw that they had Joe and Eva on like some CBS morning show talking about their experience. So
CBS morning show is a huge part of Survivor right now, Frannie.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know I have to set my alarm like 5 hours earlier than I want to next week for the 50 cast reveal on the morning
Nate
show.
Burleson and Gail King are big figures in the Survivor world right now.
Put them on the Mount Rushmore, Island of the Idols. Yeah. Gail King. Yeah.
So big night for CBS and Survivor as we crowned the new winner, Kyle. But Frannie, what's new with you?
Oh gosh, what is new with me? I've learned how to knit.
Yes.
Very excited. I'm cooking on something right now. It's very fun. What are you making? I'm making a scarf for my best friend for his birthday. I'm only at the scarf level. We haven't quite progressed to more advanced forms of clothing, but we'll get there eventually. That's about all that's going on with me. I feel like I'm just trying to get hyped for the next eras of Survivor, trying to figure out what's coming next in my life.
Wow. And the next
we're in a transition era
of Survivor, because I guess I hadn't been thinking about this, but is it still going to be the new era after 50?
I feel like it's like, what is it? The newer era, the next era, the final era.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if it could be the final era. I don't know.
What?
I mean, the endgame. I feel like the final era could last, 20 seasons, but I feel like 50 is so momentous. And they've made such a big deal about kind of earmarking this new era as its own unit. That I feel like this, this coming together of it seems like, from what I've seen online, a lot of different players from different parts of Survivor. I feel like it can't just be more of the same after 50. I feel like it's gonna be different. It's gonna shake up a little bit. And I'm excited to see what it looks like.
Okay. Well, this season that we just had, Survivor 48, looking back at it, I feel like that it is a little bit of a standalone in the new era. And I think that if anything, if you were going to complain about, if you had to complain about one thing in the new era, if you had to, okay, gun to your head, I think you might
please do it. Just complain. I'm begging you.
I've heard it might be a little same season in of like, we have a format and we're gonna run it back over and over and over again. And this was maybe the season, even though the format generally was, we ran it back, the outcome felt a little different.
Yes, to me, this felt like the most old era style new era season. And it's funny because I feel like I've seen a lot of feedback about this season online, especially the last couple of episodes. I think there were slow moments or things kind of went as we expected them to go for the large part towards the end of the game. But for years, I've seen people saying, bring back old Survivor, what's this new era bananas? And then this is a very old era season, in my opinion. And then now people are like, snooze button, So I think that it's different, but I like that it brought a different energy to the table, because it has felt, a lot of those new era seasons have felt really similar in retrospect.
Yeah, I have really been trying to, I don't ever want to come across as a hypocrite, because I think that, I do there was a big reaction from you when I said I might be a hypocrite.
Curious to hear the rest of the sentence.
Well, look, I am an advocate for, I like to see the big moves, but I do feel like that I have also at different times said like, hey, maybe we could get some people in there. Maybe you don't need everybody to be a super strategy focused person. You could mix it up. And then in this season, we really kind of had a dominant alliance, which was really a group that was a little bit more challenge first than, say, strategy focused. And it was a season about relationships. And I feel like that, like, on paper, that doesn't sound so bad, but I feel like in practice, in the real time, I did feel like, especially after a very chaotic pre-merge, I did feel like that it was a little sleepy in the post-merge. And I guess that is this a matter of, do we need to manage our expectations, or do you feel like that maybe that because Jeff said this was a magnificent season, that he loved this season. Did you have to be there? Was that it?
Yeah. So here's my, this is the real thesis statement, is Jeff should just shut his mouth. Let people form their own opinions. Because I think he kind of did this, I remember, with 44. He really hyped up our season. And then I think 44 was a good season. I think a lot of folks liked it, but there were choices made in the editing that I think gave the fans sort of a similar reaction. We know exactly what's going to happen. This is inevitable. I think that's sort of what happened here to a degree. So I think that Jeff needs to do a slightly better job in terms of expectation setting. But one thing that was really interesting about this season, and I really noticed this last night during the reunion, when they played a clip of Mary's shot in the dark hitting, it reminded me of the pre-merge phase. And that felt like a completely different season than what we saw in the post-merge to me. And that is not the fault of Jeff or editing or production. It's the fault of circumstance that none of those people that were such big characters at the beginning quite made it to the end. Like, it was kind of only Mary, and even she didn't get like that far. So I think that the show did a good job telling the interesting story that was there at the beginning. I think they could have leaned away from those really interesting dynamics on the original Vula tribe, because knowing that none of them were going to be in the end. But I'm glad they gave that to us. And the result is that the season feels a little fragmented, but I don't think that should discount how fabulous the beginning of the season was. And there are really a lot of really wonderful moments after the merge as well, in my opinion.
Do you think that the issue is that we kind of get teased with the idea that a move is going to happen, and maybe that Survivor could potentially like try to tell some different stories other than like, if the big move is not happening, why get our expectations up? Like, I'm going to tell my kids we're going to the arcade, but then turns out blindside that we're not going. And everybody's disappointed. Where I wonder if there's like, if they could sort of like explore a little bit more, where not every single vote needs to necessarily be a surprise to the audience. Again, at the risk of being a hypocrite, I certainly I was not compelled when we knew that Mitch was going to go home at the final five. But if it was like more about like, okay, here's what we're doing to throw Star off the scent, and it was a little bit more of like from the perspective of the players who are managing this thing, here's what they're doing to keep the people that are on the bottom off the scent, and we're seeing that a little bit more.
Yeah, I think that would be really interesting. This also ties into something I want to talk about, which is like Joe's final tribal performance and maybe why he lost. I think something really compelling about this season was the tone of loyalty, trust, and strength that I think Joe had a huge part in setting. And it really felt like he was able to cast this like mesmerizing spell over everyone else on the season to kind of like dampen the strategic energy that I think a lot of them came in wanting to bring. Like I think about somebody like Shaheen, who I expected to be a really wily player and to make a lot of big moves. He didn't end up doing that because he was working with Joe the whole time. And so, like you said, you know, they're teasing all of these potential flips that they know aren't going to happen. I think it would have been really interesting to lean into the story of how is Joe able to keep this spell over everyone? Because he really does. Like they are all obsessed with him. They don't want to go against him. And this, you know, precedent that has been set of like telling the truth and honor and stuff. That's maybe a more interesting story that doesn't feel as disappointing.
And I think the challenge there, though, is I think that Joe has to be like giving them that story, whereas I don't think that he is necessarily like a Boston Rob. Like I get the sense that Joe is not a manipulative guy. I think that he is just a, you know, strong, silent type, somebody who is like really a genuine person. Whereas, you know, Boston Rob was sort of like feeding people misinformation, making them feel like that they were safe. I don't think that that's what Joe was doing. And so I think that, yeah, that's an interesting story, but I don't think that that's a story that Joe was giving.
Yeah, well, and again, like I don't think he realizes that that's what's happening, but I feel like it was like they were all really swept up in his like charisma. But I was hoping that he would tell a story like that at Final Tribal Council, and he just like really didn't. I think if he had, it would have been more compelling. But yeah, maybe they did not have somebody telling that story, so they can't tell it.
So the other thing that I got, and I spoke with all 5 of the people from the finale, is that it really does feel like that. I think I talked about this with Kamilla, of that. Did a lot of people just want to go to the end with Joe and Eva? That the jury was really like signaling, we are not crazy about what Joe and Eva are doing. And maybe that was sort of like led by, you know, Chrissy goes to the jury pretty early. And so the jury was kind of not necessarily bitter jury, but sort of like that Joe or Eva would say something and the jury would respond negatively. And there were a bunch of people picking up on that. And so there was kind of like a race between David and Kyle and Shaheen, like, and Kamilla. And all these people wanted, I think that might have been Star's plan at one point. Everybody wanted to go to sit in the final 3 with Joe and Eva.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's so interesting. And I think that it's a really good jury read from the people who are out there. And given that that's the state of the game, that you can kind of tell that the jury is upset with Joe and Eva, they don't like what's happening. It's you don't need to take them out. It's almost more impressive to say, I read the room. I understood that they weren't going to win. I'm going to, you know, hold their hand to the end and then still beat them. And so I really actually liked that Kyle did that. I think it was a big shock, his choice for who to send to fire. But it's for what this season is, I think it was very impressive. And I think it earned him a lot of points with the jury.
Did Joe remind you of Danny from your season in any way?
Oh,
are they similar?
Yeah, I think that Joe is a little more interpersonal than Danny. Danny's kind of like I'm gonna do what I want, like I'm gonna go off and do my own thing kind of guy. Both, you know, great firefighters, very charismatic, but I think Joe's a little bit more of a people person. But you know, they both had perceptions of themselves in the game that maybe like weren't quite aligned with what everyone else thought. Similarity, these firefighters, they do really well. I was thinking of, I feel like Joe actually really reminds me of Mike Turner, who, you know, has this perception of the game that he is playing. The jury does not quite have that same perception. And then he, you know, I was actually really afraid that Joe was going to fall into like the Mike Turner trap at Final Tribal Council and say like, I played this honorable game, I didn't lie. And they were all going to point at him and say, yes, you did. He didn't quite fall into that trap, but I feel like those two are quite similar in my eyes.
Yeah. Okay. I know you watch this with a group of survivors and reality TV alums.
Yeah.
What was the reaction in the room from this finale? Any big moments that really stood out?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really fun group to watch with. A group that listeners of the podcast might have an opportunity to watch with at some point. Maybe we'll talk about that at some point in this episode. Yeah, we had a couple of big reactions. I would say the two biggest were when Kyle was positing that he might go into fire. Like we all stood up and started screaming at the television saying like, you don't need to do that, my guy. Like just sit there and be happy with what you've done. So yeah, I was very glad that he did not make that decision. I think he did not need to. And I think he read his game and his strengths very well, I thought, toward the end. The other thing was the moment where it seemed like Eva's fire was going to die out without hitting the string, and that Kamilla was going to have a comeback. That got a big reaction too. It then didn't really happen. Okay. Both of these moments were sort of blue balls. Like we got very excited and then the thing didn't actually end up happening.
So, all right. Well, let me go back to the Kyle fire thing. I asked him about that in my exit interview with him this morning. And I said, like, how close were you to putting yourself into the fire? He said 90%.
Oh, that's way higher than I would have thought. That's crazy.
He was ready to do it.
Interesting. Now, and he would have gone against Kamilla, I suppose.
Yes.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that I just feel like it wasn't
pulled,
necessary.
Heidi Lagares Greenblatt.
HLG. Yeah, they certainly didn't beat her record. He wouldn't have quite pulled an HLG. I don't know what his fire making skills are like.
Yeah.
But
can I ask a question? So let me just circle back to that. And I'm trying to think if we've seen it in the last couple of years, but it was such a big deal of Chris Underwood put himself into the fire. And then there was all these other people of like Xander. How could you not have put yourself into the fire? And all these, it used to be like, you would like wag your finger at people. Like, how could you not put yourself into the fire? And here comes Heidi. And then she wins the Final Four immunity. She puts herself in the fire and ends up getting one vote. Did that kill that? I'm trying to think if nobody else is going to do that ever again. Just get rid of the Final Four fire making. Nobody's doing that.
Yeah. Chris Underwood really broke that open, and Heidi put it right back together.
Because I think D won the Final Four. D didn't do it. Think that Ben won. He didn't do it in 47, and then in 47, Rachel won, and she didn't do the fire. And now here's Kyle. So I just feel like the people are like, hey, you didn't vote for Heidi. Why am I going to put myself in the fire?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is like such a big risk. I think we have seen some people go into fire pretty confident and lose. So it's very, very scary. And it's an opportunity to get in your own head. But I think that a lot of these people, I mean, I don't know, maybe Ben is somebody who should have like gone into fire if he felt confident about it. But some of these people who have won, like they feel pretty solid about their games and they feel like really ready to make some reveal at Final Tribal Council that's going to sway the jury. Like I think that's how Kyle felt with his, secrets that he was ready to unveil. And you don't want to take that risk at that point. You want to get the opportunity to unveil your secret. I think it's really interesting to think about how Final Tribal would have gone if Kamilla had won that fire making challenge, because we see the entire jury during the reunion say, led by Star. Star was like, Kamilla would have gotten every vote. She would have been the winner this season. I don't know if Star speaks for everyone there, but I'd be really curious to see how that shakes out.
The Survivor cast, I feel like, and, especially here in the new era, everybody is like pretty generous with the praise and the accolades for the other players. Yeah. Everybody's a threat. Everybody would win if they got to the end. Everybody had a great shot. They would have got all the votes. But only in reality, like there's a pecking order of like, one person would do the best versus everybody else. So, okay, let's talk that through. Okay, this scenario that you outlined where Kamilla ends up beating Eva, right? Not Kyle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes,
Kamilla beats Eva. And now it's Joe, Kyle, and Kamilla at the Final Tribal Council. And I think it's a real dogfight for these votes. I mean, you have Chrissy who did vote for Kyle.
Yep, she voted for Kyle. I think she certainly would have been a Kamilla vote. I mean, I think she felt a big like kinship with Kamilla, that they were both on the bottom and weren't winning things. And
Okay. And then Cedric voted for Joe. I would assume that he votes for Joe again.
Old men, dads. Yeah.
Did it for the dads.
Did it for the dads. Yeah, that's big. That's huge.
Yeah. Okay. Then after Cedric, was it David next?
Yeah, David
Okay.
next.
Okay. And then David voted for Kyle. Let's assume David votes for Kyle again.
I think that's a safe
Okay.
assumption.
I think so. Okay. Then after
Star?
David. Okay. Star. Okay.
Star? I think
Star
it's
voted for
Kamilla.
Eva. Yeah. I think she'd go for Kamilla. Okay. And then we had
Mary, I feel Mary's got to go Kamilla too.
Okay. Yeah, they were
This is
compelling. Those were the 2 Eva votes. Okay. Then after Mary was Shaheen.
I think Shaheen is a big toss up for me. I think Shaheen's going to be it's going to be dependent on who vocalizes their situation better at Final Tribal. And honestly, I think Kamilla would maybe be able to do that better, because I think she's a little more, she's willing to be pointed and she's willing to get in there. In the Final Tribal, she's the one who, you know, really served up Kyle's opportunity.
Let's leave that as a toss up for now. And let's just see if we need it. Okay. Then after Shaheen, then it would be Mitch.
Yeah. Mitch might have been Kamilla too. I feel like.
I don't. Yes, he was close with Kamilla, but he's also close with Kyle. I think that, you know, Mitch, a little bit of a guy's guy, Mitch.
Yeah, he wanted an all-men final 3, so maybe.
That's a toss-up. Yeah. And then I guess then the final juror is Eva, who would vote for Joe. So, yeah, certainly, we have 2 votes for Kyle. I'm sorry, we have right now we have 1 solid vote for Kyle, which is David. We have 3 solid votes for Kamilla, and 2 toss-ups. So I think even if we split the toss-ups, then I think that's 4 Kamilla votes.
Yeah, which is wild. It's very interesting. I think that, yeah.
And also you have to think too, also where not only has she won the final 5 immunity challenge, now she's just made fire in front of the jury. And so she does have that kind of Gabler heat.
Yeah, she's got the Gabler momentum. Yeah, I think that might put her over the edge, because like she said, her whole game is really tied with Kyle. That's the one thing that she like really does on her own. And then also like winning the final five immunity. That was huge too. So I don't know. Yeah, we could have been this close to a Kamilla win. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So, do you feel like that she made a mistake by saying to Kyle don't or put me in the fire if you win immunity, and vice versa?
Yeah, I think she was trying to be respectful. I think maybe we hold that thought for another 3 to 4 hours until after the challenge. Like maybe Kamilla, just wait and see if you win it, and then you can sort of tell him that afterwards. I don't know that it would have swayed anything, because actually I do buy her logic, which is that Kyle also can read the room, also knows that we might be splitting votes, and would put Kamilla into fire. But like, I don't know, she could have really like appealed to their relationship. But then if she doesn't say that to Kyle decides he wants to bring Kamilla. Now she doesn't have that fire win. Now the perception really is like they worked together, and then Kyle brought her to the end. So maybe she doesn't have that like extra oomph to win. It's like really thin margins, I think.
As someone who's attended a new era final tribal council, what's the whole scene like? Because I really have no idea. From what they edit down on television, it's like 10, 15 minutes. But, I feel like I hear different things.
Yeah, well, there's so many more knock-knock jokes than you usually see. We tell those all the time. I don't know why they never get shown. Final Tribal Council is a slog, honestly, for everyone involved, because the final 3 is exhausted. The jury really just wants to go back to Ponderosa and party, I think, usually. Yeah. And I don't know, the question format, like, I like the newer format of Final Tribal Council, where the jury can ask multiple questions as opposed to just one per person. Yeah, because I think it does allow people to like dig in on things as they come up, but a lot of the answers like sort of start to feel the same over the course of the like 2-hour Final Tribal. So it's edited down to 10 minutes for a reason. Like a lot of it is not super useful. But if there's anything I learned from season 44, it's that the story of Final Tribal is really, really shaped by the editors. Like I think that a lot of the discussions that happened at the 44 Final Tribal were not shown in what was on TV. And so it gives the audience like sort of a different perception of who the front runner is, who has a chance and who doesn't. So I feel like, if anything, I'm guessing that Kyle spoke even more to his relationship with Kamilla than we saw. We only get a slice of it because they want it to appear closer. But it sort of seems like a shoo-in for him at that point.
Speaking of getting a slice of it, I'd love to then hear about the transition to the Survivor after show, where we go right from, and we have this live transition. It's been that way all through the new era. Can you talk about what that's like to be a participant there, and like how they shift things over? Like how much of a turnaround is there from they count the votes to you're in the Survivor after show?
Oh yeah, it's like 3 minutes. I mean, it really is a live transition. It's very exciting. It's funny because when you're a juror at that point, especially if you got voted out a little ways ago, you like don't remember how to do tribal council. So Jeff sort of starts asking you questions and you're like, oh God, like I'm back on TV. I have to be entertaining again. Yeah, I don't know. The reunion show is always interesting because the formatting of the questions and like Jeff has these beats, it just feels so much more manufactured than like a typical tribal council. I really, it killed me during this reunion when they went to the like senior superlatives. Jeff was like, okay, who's most likely to, be president? Like, he's like, I feel like he was sort of scraping for questions a little bit toward the end there. But yeah, it's fun. I feel really bad for the final three. I mean, we saw it with Kyle. He just won. He should be so excited, and he can barely answer Jeff's question because he's tired and overwhelmed.
Yeah, he's like, can you come back to me?
Yeah, he's like, no, I swear I'm excited. Just give me
Kyle, this is it. This is the Survivor after show.
Yeah, you got like one more second, dude. Yeah, I mean, it's fun. The thing that I like about the after show, this was big in 44, but it's sort of fun when Jeff is able to do little reveals about earlier in the season. Like when he says that Thomas got voted out with a extra vote or a steal a vote or something. And, Kyle and Kamilla were like, that's crazy. I didn't know that he did that. That's a little bit fun, but I don't know. I wish that everybody was there. I feel like it'd be more fun if the pre-jury got to be there too, especially on a season like this, where they were so engaging and like made up so much of the fun moments on the season.
Yeah. Did you vote for the live reunion to come back for Survivor 50?
Oh, certainly. Yeah. Who voted no for that?
Well, okay. Did you vote
one,
for no idols?
I did not vote for no idols. I did not. I voted for idols. Yeah.
I don't think anybody voted for no idols either. Maybe one person.
I think there are some annoying Twitter fans that did vote for no idols. Idols ruin the game, but really, truly, if you watched a game with no idols, I think it would be a little. It'd stink. Yeah, I know some of the votes were interesting.
In Survivor 50, there's going to be like a very pregnant pause where Jeff, like the final three gets to the end, okay? And the people are sitting there. Jeff goes to get the urn, and like either does he come back and say, all right? Because they don't know. They don't know what the fans voted. He's like, maybe I'm gonna like...
He's gonna pick it up. He's gonna, should I take it? No, I'll stay
Open the lid. Like, should we do it now or should we do it like a year from now? What do you think?
Yeah, he's gonna make a meal out of that for sure. He's gonna have popcorn. He's gonna have everything. I'm actually really curious to see how they roll out some of this stuff for season 50. Like, if I was on season 50 and again, nobody voted for no idols, very few people. But if I found out after the fact that there were no idols the whole forking time and I looked for like hours and hours, I'd be pissed.
But I think that people are going to know pretty soon that there are idols. Like, I think that you find like one person's going to find like a clue on day 2. It's like, okay, I guess there's idols.
Yeah. I'm trying to think about what some of the other ones were. They had Final Four fire making as a question.
And I really think that the Final Four fire making did loom large over Survivor 48, because I do feel like that it allowed the 4-person alliance to really not have to let anybody question where they stood in the 4-person alliance.
Yeah, well, that's honestly that lead up to building the final four is the part of Kyle's game that I feel like is the most sketchy. Like overall, I actually think he was a very strong winner. I thought he did super, super well, but it really felt like he was uh relying on winning that final four challenge, because if Kamilla wins, he's going to fire. If Joe wins, he's going to fire. If Eva wins, he's going to fire. So I think it just feels a little tenuous to stake that last opportunity on yourself winning the challenge. Obviously it worked out for him, but yeah, I don't know. I was shocked by how like almost unprepared he was for that moment.
Yeah. I mean, how do you think it plays out if they don't vote out Shaheen at the vote last time? Let's say that, okay, let's just talk this through. Okay, final six, they don't vote out Shaheen, and Mitch goes home at 6. Then Kamilla wins immunity now. Who goes? Does Kyle go home at 5?
I don't think that Kyle is like perceived as enough of a threat yet, because one thing that we know for sure is, I mean, Joe and Eva seemed shocked by the relationship reveal between Kyle and Kamilla at Final Tribal Council. And so I think if you are Joe and Eva and you're looking around at the final 5, you're like, why do I get out Kyle? What has he done that I haven't done?
But somebody has to go. Do they vote out Shaheen at 5?
Yeah, maybe Kyle, Kamilla do the exact same shenanigans at 5. Or, I mean, well, I don't know if it would have happened, but if Shaheen is there, I think there's a bigger chance that at 5, Joe and Eva are fed a story that one of them is in trouble to guide where the idol is played, and then the other one maybe is voted out. I think that like, that's the biggest opportunity for either Joe or Eva getting voted out, I think, was keeping Shaheen.
Maybe the most interesting thing that came out of my interviews today, Frannie, was that in talking with Eva, Eva was explaining a lot about her game. According to Eva, Eva was the brains of the operation with her and Joe, that she wanted people to think Joe was calling the shots. Eva was the one who was the strategic partner in that duo. And Eva did not want to sit with Shaheen at the end of the game. Eva did not want Shaheen in the final 3. And that what Eva said was that they did not let her finish her point at the final tribal council when Kamilla jumped in and said, hey, I'd like to get Kyle's opinion on this. And what Eva was saying was that it did not matter to her that if Shaheen had the idol or was targeting her, it was going to be her move. She was going to manipulate Joe to vote out his other number 1 to take out Shaheen because she did not want to sit with him.
So I buy that from Eva's perspective, like that's the logic. But the big, neon lights question is, would Eva have done that manipulative act if Kyle and Kamilla had not come up with their whole charade and then went to them with this like fake idol thing? Like, I don't know if Eva is going to craft from nothing enough of a lie about Shaheen to manipulate Joe into voting him out. And so I think that I think it was smart of her to, when she hears this information, think to herself, okay, I can use this to my advantage. And she probably did sway Joe to some extent. But I think it's tough for Eva because the origin of that whole thing is Kyle and Kamilla. Like, they really planted the seed. I thought I wish that we had heard some more of what made Eva think that she was the brains of the operation. I believe her that she thought that, but it was kind of funny. Like, she gives her like big reveal that she's a PhD student, which is very cool. But then like, I know she didn't really have evidence of like, and so I did this really smart thing. She's like, I wanted you all to think I was a dumb jock, but I'm actually a PhD student. But then everything she did aligned with her being a dumb jock, I feel. So I wanted to, for her sake and for our sake, I wanted to hear a little bit more about how she thought she was the brains of the operation.
Isn't it too early for these people to be revealing these things? Like, why are they keeping it a secret? And then like, isn't the idea like tell them after the final tribal? I know you want to have reveals like at the final tribal council, but I think that isn't part of the idea. Like, if you are like a successful professional, you reveal it after the vote so that they don't say, oh, well, this person doesn't need the money.
Yeah, Kyle's like, I'm not an underpaid teacher. I'm actually a well-paid lawyer. They're like, oh, I don't know if I should vote for you. Yeah, I love the moment where, I mean, they really jumped the gun with the reveal by telling Joe at camp about their jobs. And in that moment, I really wanted Joe to be like, I'm not actually a fire chief. Like, I'm a line dancer on the side. Like, I just wanted him to
Line
come up with
dancer.
something.
Wow.
That's the first thing that came to mind, I wanted him to come up with something crazy, but he just stuck with fire chief.
Frannie,
Very
did
boring.
you have any secrets that you hid from the other cast members?
Yeah. And they seem so stupid in retrospect. Everyone lies about their job in some capacity. I remember Matt, and like to you, they feel like big lies, but to everyone else, it's like, who gives a shit? Matt lied and told everyone that he was a software engineer at a small company. And then like a couple days into the show, he was like, I feel so connected with you. I'm going to tell you, I work at Google. And I was like, wow, that's crazy. And so my lie that I told was, I was like, I work at a mindfulness center, which is true. And I implied that I like taught mindfulness, but I actually do research on mindfulness. But I was like, people will think I'm smart if I say I do research. And then I revealed to everyone, I actually do research at the mindfulness center. And it's like not a reveal at all. Nobody gave a crap. Yeah, it's all dumb. You just feel like you want to have something to reveal. So you're scrabbling for things that are like worth hiding, and none of these things are actually worth
What
hiding.
about like next level? Okay. What if people like come in with like a fake reveal? Like if they come in with the first level of like, okay, they're actually a lawyer, but then they come in and tell people they're a teacher, and then they reveal actually I'm not a teacher. I am
a line dancer.
A line dancer. And they're like, oh, okay. Like, oh, okay, I can't believe, well, thank you for coming clean to us. And you feel good that they've like shared a secret with you.
Yeah, final travel. I danced through all the competition. I feel like that was sort of what Liz Wilcox was shaping up to do. She comes in and then she's like, reveal, I'm a millionaire. And she's setting herself up for the reveal that she wasn't a millionaire. It's a little, I feel like at that point, maybe we focus on the game. Maybe we just try to vote people out and not worry about all this other stuff.
Yeah.
But.
Okay. Now, Survivor 48, I know you're higher than most on the season.
Yeah.
You've enjoyed it. Do you want to stop down and talk a little bit more about your love of Survivor 48?
Yeah, Rob, you're like, make it make sense. Why do you love this season?
Yeah. Well, I think that this season, to me, I think this season is a Rorschach test of what do you love about Survivor? And I think that for people who are a little bit more, okay, that Survivor is this really cool game that people go and play. I think that this season was disappointing if that's the reason that you watch the show. If you are there to sort of like, okay, go on this journey and like explore the human condition, that I think that this season and really like let yourself like come to know these characters, which sounds like on paper like a very rich experience, then this is a great season for you.
Yeah. So this is interesting. I think I have gone through a bit of a, change in my life. I used to be very much, I'm here for the strategy. That's what excites me about Survivor. That was my focus. And so, a season like 47 would have really appealed to me. Tons of like moving parts and really good strategy. And I still like that, to be very, very clear. But I feel like after I played, I had this, wash of understanding that there is so much more happening than what we see on screen. A lot of the strategy that feels so special is really a like accumulation of circumstances and like random opportunities that people just capitalize on well. You're not actually a genius, like you just use the opportunities that were handed to you. And so in my like post-playing Survivor era, I like the funny stuff. That's what I find fun about Survivor. Like I filled out the 25 best moments of Survivor survey for RHAP. Go fill it out. And all of the moments that I thought of were like, when Debbie gets really mad at Brad Culpepper and she does push-ups. Like, that was so good. And I feel like that's just what appeals to me now, is like, this is a silly, goofy show. And I love the moments that can be really strategic, but I also love when the players are having fun and we as the audience can have fun watching them be weird. And this season had a lot of that. I feel like the pre-merge, which was much more strategically heavy, also had these wacky moments with Say and Mary, so funny and so weird. And then like post-merge, Shaheen with all the music, and Star is rapping and fried chicken and waffles. Like it was a lot of it felt like lighthearted in that way, and it appealed to me. I thought it was very fun.
Yeah, I think there's a balance between everything. And I think that, I think we like to see those relationships. And I don't think that there are times where, we have a season that is a more strategy focused season that does not have, an exploration of some of these deep relationships. So I think that you can have both. And I think you can also have seasons that are, get too strategy heavy also, where we're very much advantage focused. And it's not even about the relationships. But I think that, like, really where Survivor it's at its best is when you have this like push pull between managing these relationships and then also everybody's strategic best interests. Whereas I feel like that the strategic best interests of the players, I felt like was not always super well explained, even in a 90-minute episode where there was just like one group. And we always, I think, saw what Kyle was thinking. I think that he might be the one character where we really got a good sense of like what Kyle was trying to do and managing between Kamilla and managing the other side. But as far as like, the Joe and Eva side, it was just a lot of like, hey, well, we got our group. This is it. And then the people on the bottom were just sort of just scrambling wildly in all different directions without any sense of like a cohesive plan coming together for how they were going to attack the group that had frozen them out.
Yeah, well, I mean, they can't show us the strategic best interests of the people on the bottom because those people were not acting in their strategic best interests. Like, there's nothing to show. I do think that there were like editing choices that made this season hard, especially the past like string of maybe 4 episodes. What really shocked me was maybe 1 or 2 episodes ago. We saw almost nothing from Mitch. Like, I think the period between the immunity challenge and tribal council, I think this is when Shaheen went home. We see absolutely nothing about Mitch's opinion. But in that 90-minute episode, we got like a fishing montage. We got a really long reward. And so it's like, there is space. But it was just like not given to anybody except for the dominant alliance. And I think that's where you lose people, because you always want to like have hope that an underdog will come forward. But if you don't show that underdog, then the audience, we're not dumb. We know that it's not actually going to happen. Like, they're not actually going to prevail. Yeah, it was an interesting one. I think that, Jeff is here for the relationships.
Yes.
I think that's what really enamors him about Survivor. He says it a lot during tribal council. He loves the psychology of it, like how people work together and how they bond. And this season had that more than a lot of others, like these hyper intense connections that happened so quickly. And so I see why Jeff was really taken with the season. But I can understand why other folks weren't as taken with that. The one thing that I think is interesting about Kyle and Kamilla and their relationship, I think like, their relationship is one of the best parts of the season. It's like a really exciting through line. What's cool about it is I feel like we got to see actually the entire scope of their relationship, because they only talk in these 3-4 minute chunks of time. Like, we saw all those chunks. We saw everything from start to finish. And I think it's like really satisfying to have explored that whole relationship. Whereas like, Eva and Joe, we see a million conversations of them checking in, saying the same thing. We're on top, whatever. But each individual moment where Kyle and Kamilla come together is so potent because they're so small and there's so much information exchanged that I thought that was really fun to explore. I'm glad we got so much of them on the season.
One of the things that was mentioned quite a bit with Kyle and Kamilla was just the sheer lack of time they spent talking to each other. They had such a shorthand that they would go, Kyle would run off find Kamilla in the jungle. They would talk for 10 seconds, and then they would go back to what they were doing. Okay. Do you think that that might be hyperbole? Are you buying that?
I mean, it's certainly not 10 seconds, but I think they're being pretty honest because I can't imagine that they talked any more than that because Joe and Eva seemed to not know about their secret relationship. It is hard to get to the final 4 of Survivor and have 2 people not know that the other 2 people have a secret relationship. Like that really flabbergasted me. So I feel like they were kind of like coming and going really quickly, which is very impressive. It's very good.
Yeah. Do you think that we will see more of that on Survivor? Will there be because you have these 2 duos, and I'm interested to hear how you think that they might shape the future of the game. Do you think that will there be more Kyle and Kamilla's or Joe and Eva's moving forward?
Yeah, I think that there will be many more Kyle and Kamilla's. Obviously, it was shown to be a success, so people want to give that a try. But I think that in Survivor, like you meet somebody you connect with, you want to spend a lot of time with them because they make you feel secure. You want to strategize a lot with them. And it feels like you can't have that trust or have that bond without the time spent together. And I think Kyle and Kamilla really proved that you can just make it happen based on very little information to great success. So I'm hopeful that people will do more Kyle and Kamilla relationships. I think it's really fun. I think that Joe and Eva were the exception that proves the rule about having a really obvious duo. Almost any other obvious duo is broken up every time. This happened with Matt and I. You know, it is, again, I said this at the beginning of the episode, it's a testament to Joe and Eva's like tone setting and their power over the social contract of the entire season, that they were not targeted the entire time. But I don't think that works on like any other season. It was the perfect combination of these people that allowed that to work.
Do you think that the Kyle and Kamilla relationship could be weaponized by other players? Of if I'm out there and I go and I tell somebody, hey, guess what? Frannie and Jam, secret relationship. They're a secret duo. We got to take one out.
And what are Jam and I going to say? We only talked for 10 seconds. And they'll say, that's enough. That's more than enough. I think so. I mean, I think it'll prompt people to like look a little more closely, be a little more discerning, especially like, you know, when something like the vote where Thomas goes out, you know, I'm surprised that Joe and Shaheen came away from that not understanding that Kyle and Kamilla were working together. It's like, maybe if 2 people work together to share advantages and, you know, get out of a tough spot, perhaps their communication is better than I thought. Like maybe they are working together. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how that shakes out in 49. Overall, very curious to see what the tone of season 49 is, because I think that the specter of season 50 will loom very large over that season.
So that we got the Survivor 49 promo on the episode last night, and Survivor 49 coming this fall. I have like we have in our kitchen. Okay. We have like a family calendar. Okay. And so it's on and we have like a Fire Stick, like on a TV, and it's just basically our family calendar. And we get the headlines from like EW. So we get a lot of like Dalton Ross's Survivor headlines. Okay. All this to say, there was a headline this morning of Jeff Probst describes season 49 as quirky and sweltering.
Oh. Ooh, I don't know if I like those adjectives.
What do you think?
Survivor 49, weird and sweaty is what Jeff said. Yeah, that's odd. That's odd. I mean, sweltering. Did you read the art? Is he sweltering literally? Was it very hot, or sweltering in terms of like there's fire building? Hot.
Yeah.
I mean, we watched the promo. I don't know if it was sweltering for that reason. And I mean that with the utmost respect, but I wasn't blown away, I would say.
Hold on. There's ads over the headline. So unfortunately, that Jeff Probst calls it quirky and sweltering.
Okay. Interesting. Again, I mean, Jeff has maybe learned from what happened with 48. He's not going to go out there and say 49 is the best season.
Yes.
He's gotta undercut it a little bit.
He says to Dalton Ross, every season of Survivor is unique. That's definitely the case for Survivor 49. This is a very likable and quirky group of players that are going to encounter a Fijian summer so sweltering, it feels like the jungle is breathing on you.
Oh. Ew. Okay.
Did you ever
That's
feel like the
cool.
jungle was breathing on you?
Yeah, I didn't get that. Thankfully. I don't know if I want the jungle to breathe on me per se. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm excited. I like a quirky group of people. That's a good, I like
Quirky
that as an
sounds
adjective.
fine. Yeah.
Yeah, quirky sounds fun. I don't know about sweltering. Seems like it's a literal heat issue. Maybe we'll have a, what is a beast mode cowboy style heat stroke exit.
I hope not.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
yeah, we had enough of those for a lifetime.
Yeah, so that's what's happening in Survivor 49. Now, Frannie, also this week that we got some news earlier in the week. Okay. Yeah. And this was a little like cloak and dagger of that there was some secret messages that Survivor was trying to send to the fans. People said that maybe this is like a Taylor Swift type strategy to release secret clues. And we got a bunch of clues on Monday night, and people pieced it together that it said Survivor 50 cast Wednesday. And everybody lost their mind. What do you mean? They're going to find out Wednesday?
Yeah.
Wednesday is when everybody's going to find out who's on?
Crazy.
There was one more slide, which did change everything, which said May 28th.
The rise and fall of that, I was so proud to be a part of that experience. The funniest thing to me about that whole situation was I can't fathom that the Survivor media team foresaw the fans like putting everything together, thinking it was going to be this Wednesday, and then they have this reveal that's actually next Wednesday. I think that the Survivor team actually thought like nobody's gonna put these clues together until like I think that they didn't realize we were gonna get it. And so it just makes it all the funnier that they were like, no, there's one more piece of the puzzle. Like, it's wrong. And the difference between, I wouldn't call myself a Swiftie. I'm like not a big Taylor Swift person, but I do really, really like Easter eggs. Big on Easter eggs. And so I get some Swiftie content because I like the analysis of all that stuff. And Taylor Swift knows her fans and she knows that they're freaks and that she can put the smallest little clue and they will find it. I feel like Survivor needed to recognize that we're freaks. Like they could have been a little more subtle with the clues. Like Taylor said, Wednesday, like all caps. And I wish it was like a more secret. I wish it was a game within a game that we had to, work for a little bit harder.
Yeah. Okay. So we ultimately are going to have to wait until Wednesday morning when it's going to be revealed. We found out, I think last night, that it is going to be part of the CBS early show, which is going to be on that, according to Sam Moore, he's saying 7 a.m. is when they're going to do that.
Yeah, 7 a.m. Eastern, mind
7 a.m. Eastern time. Which does seem like, as I used to watch a lot more news, Frannie. I used to be a big Today Show guy. And back in my era of watching the Today Show, you'd watch it. And that was like a good time to tune in 7 a.m. because, it was Ann Curry was the news person. Or actually, no, or that maybe she would come on later. But like they basically like you could get caught up on like the first couple stories of the day. That they're going to bump whatever like national world news is happening to like, hey, audience that's here day in and day out. We're going to tell you about Survivor 50.
Yeah. I feel like they should maybe wait and see what the world news is before they slot this in. You never know. Something big could happen. I will be tuning in. I mean, it'll be like 4 a.m. my time, but
you wake up and will you set an alarm? No.
Yeah. I'm going to do it. When WandaVision was coming out, I've talked to you about this. I really love Marvel stuff. When WandaVision was first coming out during COVID, I would wake up at 5 a.m. to watch it. So I'm very committed to the early rising for things I want to watch.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll be there with everyone else.
So we'll see.
Live tweeting.
I'd be surprised if they do it right at 7. I think they're going to say like, hey, stay tuned. In our 3rd hour, we are going to bring you the Survivor cast.
Yeah, I'm going to be up at 4 a.m. Damn it, I could have slept in. Yeah, I was really excited. I thought we were going to get to talk about the season 50 cast today. So I was devastated by the reveal that it's in a week, but I'm very excited to see who's going to be there. I feel for season 49. I think it's going to be hard for us not to be thinking about and excited about 50 all throughout their season. But yeah, I want it. I
think it's going to be okay. And for the 49ers, I think that it's going to be fine. Like if anybody from Survivor 49 is listening, like, sure, it seems like, that the like nobody's thinking about us and hey, we matter too. Once we get to the fall and it comes on and it's Wednesday, like people aren't going to be like thinking about like people cared about Survivor Samoa when it was on and didn't only think about heroes versus villains. And people watch Survivor 39, even though like they knew winners.
So as long as 49 doesn't do that, then they'll be great. And there's some great watch parties on the books, perhaps for season 49. There's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah, well, Frannie, we broke the news last night that this November we're going to be coming out to see you and the San Francisco crew. I'll be the San Francisco 49ers.
Yeah, no, 49ers is perfect. Rob, I've been asking for this for a long time. I think waiting until you can make the 49ers pun is worth the wait. I think it's going to be really, really fun.
People have said, like, please come to San Francisco. I said, hold on, let us cook. Give us 5 more years. We've got the perfect time to come.
Yeah, 5 years of waiting for one good pun. You will be so pleased.
Yes.
I think it's going to be an absolute blast. We're going to show you a very good time.
And just wait and see what we have planned for Survivor 69, okay? 10 more years, Frannie.
Yeah, please, somebody retire before then. I don't want to see what's
the final year, huh?
Big swing for the final year. Yeah.
That's gonna be very exciting. Okay.
Oh gosh.
Frannie, if we look back at Survivor 48, do you want to give out any superlatives? Do you have an MVP of Survivor 48?
I have got, gosh. I'm going to give 2 MVPs. I'm going to give a pre-merge MVP and a post-merge MVP. Pre-merge MVP has to go to Say. I had so much fun watching her. I would hate to play with her, but she was such fabulous television, and I could not tear my eyes away from the screen whenever she would do anything. Post-merge.
What was it about Say that made her such good television?
She's just so flagrant in everything she does. I feel like she the way that she acts shows that she kind of doesn't give a crap what people think about her. And I feel like she's willing to think outside the box and be very funny. Like when she spelled out the message with sticks to Mary that she was looking for an idol. I've never seen that before in 48 seasons of Survivor.
I'd like to, speak to that. I think that Say was just so interesting because I think that she was such a departure from the rest of the cast, where we talked so much about everybody on the cast buying in and embracing the experience and really seeking these deep relationships. And Say, I think, was the one person who was the most self-interested person on the island. And I think that it made her such an interesting character in this world where players may be self-interested, but they are all pretending that they are not super self-interested.
Yeah, she was a breath of fresh air. And I also think the other thing that was unique about her is I think a lot of players, especially those who are really big fans of the game, go into Survivor with a lot of tension. You don't want to do the wrong thing. You don't want to be too pushy about an alliance or be, too forward about telling people that they're on the bottom. And Say was willing to be too much in every direction. And it was so fun. It was great. She, I hope that other people are more willing to play like her. clearly it's a maybe not great strategy, but it's so fun to watch.
But Frannie, in any
appreciate
other
it.
season, I think that she could have been somebody that they really wanted to take to the end.
You think?
I do think so, because I think that the people are like, oh, I'd love to sit next to Say at the end.
I think I think it depends. She is, interpersonally, I can see that maybe people didn't love her, but she powered through the entire pre-merge, and what she wanted to happen happened, essentially. And so who's to say that she wouldn't power through the post-merge in the same way? I think that with this group of people, like you said, she's so misaligned with everyone else that it just was never going to quite work for her. But I don't know. I could see a world where people are like, wow, she's not very likable, but man, she did play a good game. Like, we got to give it to her.
Okay. So Say is what your co-MVP. Who's the other MVP for you?
You have to give it to Kamilla. I mean,
Oh.
she, in my opinion, she surprised herself. She came in with so many, barriers in her mind about how she was going to do poorly, how she was not going to win anything. And she was so compelling the entire time. Again, she felt like a breath of fresh air in this season where everyone is honorable, telling the truth. Even though Kyle was part of this, like he was setting up scaffolding for these plans. Kamilla was the executor. Like, she's the one who went and told the lies, and that was much needed in this season. I felt like she really carried that burden on her back of being the one to be the strategic, mastermind and weasel a little bit. So I was really glad to have her at the end.
Now, Kamilla talked a lot about what her family's expectations were for her to come out and play.
Yeah.
How did your family react to you going on Survivor?
Yeah, well, a pretty different experience from her. I think everyone in my life was like, you're going to win. And then it was a kind of awkward to come back and be like, no, I didn't win. So I think it's maybe better in some cases to have them think, oh, you're going to do really bad. And then you get to surprise them when you do really well. Yeah, my family was very excited. I feel for Kamilla. I feel like that's, a lot to come into the game already with something to prove to like the people back home. It's a burden to bear. So yeah, I didn't have that problem.
Yeah.
My family's like, yeah, you're going to do great.
Do you think that they negged her into doing so well though?
Oh, cause she's like trying to prove them wrong.
Yeah. Is that possible?
Yeah. Maybe they had like a family meeting without her and they were like, we gotta really get in her head. We gotta take her down so that she overperforms. Maybe.
Yeah.
I want to know what that conversation was like when she came back home and they were like, okay, so what? So you did really bad? And she had to say, no, I actually did pretty well.
Yeah.
It's good. It's fun. It's a good family moment.
Yeah. Like, well, you didn't tell everybody that we said you were going to do bad, right?
Yeah.
She's like, well, it might have come up.
Yeah. It could have come up a couple of times. Jeff really leaned into that. He had a lot to say to mom and dad back home.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was so happy that was part of it, where Kamilla had self-doubt that she was overcoming. And he talked about it. I listened to the On Fire podcast. I listen to it every week, but he talked about how he really feels like, I think I'm trying to remember his quote that he says, but he says the game is the lore, but the experience is the prize. I think that's how he uses that phrase, where basically like we basically entice you to like, hey, you want to come play this game, but actually like what you're coming to do is get this experience out of the show.
I see. Okay. Yeah. When you first said that, it felt like a Mad Libs or something. The game is the lore. Sure. Lore.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see that. That was very much my experience as well. Like, I came in thinking I really wanted to play the game, and what was so meaningful for me was the like personal discoveries that were made along the way. Yeah, I think it's a good way to see Survivor. And the other thing that I like about that, and I think why Jeff really leans into that assessment, is because in that framework, everyone wins. Everyone gets a prize, because even if you're voted out first, you have the opportunity to learn something about yourself and grow as a person. So it's kind of like you get a prize and you get a prize attitude.
I've really, talked about this for a while, that really that is Survivor in the new era, where it's really
Yeah.
not necessarily that, like, did it come up once? Like, what's Kyle going to do with the money? What was anybody going to do with the money? The most
Yeah.
you ever hear is like, oh, okay, family, I'm getting married. That's really it. Everything else, is like, we really try to frame things as like, what did I get out of this experience?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I prefer that because I never really liked when people would get to the end and then make a decision just based on who felt deserving of the money rather than who was, deserving based on the game they played. Like, in my opinion, it's all a like self-contained bubble, and you have to consider what is within the bubble, which is the game. All that other stuff that's outside the bubble, like that's for later. So yeah, I like this format. It feels a little participation trophy, but the things that people learn about themselves and the personal developments they made are all real, and they are compelling to watch.
Okay. Let me bring in some questions from the listeners. Trevor Chung says, if this season was in the hands of the fans and the fire making was voted off, does that change the end game at all, or is it the same result? Okay. Now, all of a sudden, no Final Four fire making. And I guess, do they know it, or it's like well, there might be Final Four fire making?
I feel like you have to give them the might be, because that's, so that would give us a Final Four vote where they cannot use idols, right?
And Kyle ends up being immune at the vote.
Ooh. Well, I feel like the result is the same.
So do you think they vote out Kamilla?
I think they vote out Kamilla.
Or do Kyle and Kamilla? Well, if Kyle and Kamilla feel like, hey, one of us, needs to be there, and it's like Kyle's like, well, I got the necklace, so sorry, Kamilla. We said,
yeah, or maybe they're willing to go to rocks because for Kamilla,
go to fire, and fire
making
is gone.
So then there's a fire anyways.
Well, that's why I think it's not ideal to have it, because I feel like half the time it's going to be a 2-2 tie that's going to go to fire.
Yeah, and it's a little more interesting.
It'd be more exciting if it wasn't mandatory.
Yeah. Don't force them into it. Yeah, I think
it'd be a treat.
Very exciting. I do wonder if it would have changed the lead up to Final Four though. Like if they weren't sure that there was a fire making, like maybe then you are more comfortable like leaving Mitch in. I don't know. I'm curious what you think about all the like Mitch rhetoric. Like, did they actually believe that Mitch was going to get votes? Was that real, or was that just like what they were telling him?
A hard thing to parse, because they say about everybody: Kamilla, Mitch, Eva, Joe, like Mary, any single person. Shaheen. If they got to the end, they were going to win. I don't think that Mitch had a winning coalition on the jury.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Mitch's only win condition, perhaps, is if he is there with Joe and Eva and the jury is so pissed at them. Like, that's maybe his only option. And they think to themselves, hey, we're going to vote for this guy who's scrappy. He survived all the way through, and he's the better option than this majority that we're frustrated with.
Especially if it comes by him going on like a comp run, like he wins Final Five. He makes the fire, like he sort of like ends up sneaking in there because of like his challenge ability.
Yeah, I really thought that based on some of the group challenges, I thought that Mitch would be a bigger contender for individual immunity. He's so good at throwing things.
Yeah, anything that's like, and then we came up last night, underhand throwing the ball, that Mitch is...
He's got it, yeah.
Yeah, in the pre-merge, it's like, okay, Mitch don't miss. People would say
Mitch
it all
don't
the time.
miss.
Yeah,
he was really good. I will say this season, the individual challenges felt very physical to me. There's really only that one puzzle that Kamilla wins. And all of the other challenges, a lot of them were like literally testing arm strength specifically.
Yeah.
And I it makes you wonder, like, to what degree does the cast, like, does the Survivor team look at this cast and say, oh, there's some strong cookies out there, like, let's give them more physical challenges.
Some arm challenges. I really can't imagine that they like plan out like the specific challenges they have based off of like the strengths of the cast. I can't imagine. I just feel like that they're planning these 2 seasons like back to back. The cast changes.
Yeah, true.
I just don't think that they would have enough time to be able to set it up that way. I think it's more luck of the draw.
Yeah, well, it worked out really well for the strong people, narrative and group have all these.
Were you more of an arms challenge person or a legs challenge person?
The challenges that I won were arms, like it was holding up like this, but I feel like I don't have much arm strength. It's like I have pretty good pain tolerance. I like a pain tolerance challenge.
Okay.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you tested your pain tolerance in any other ways?
Yeah. So the the study that I work on, one of the things that the study participants do is a cold water test where they have to dip their arm into icy cold water and see how long they can hold it. And I did break the record at my lab for holding it in the water the longest.
Okay.
So,
What's the temperature of the water?
I don't know, pretty cold. Negative. Well, it's not frozen, so I don't know. It's probably like 32, 33. Yeah. It's like right above freezing.
Wow. Okay. I mean, this is like that movie Novocaine, right? Where the guy can't
he doesn't feel any pain.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's huge. Maybe that's me.
Yeah.
I think it's a big thing in Survivor challenges because so much of it is just like you physically can do this. It just sucks really bad and you have to deal with it. Yeah.
And maybe it's a blessing and a curse that you don't feel the physical pain, but I feel like you're very tapped into emotions and you can feel
the mental pain. Yeah. The emotional pain, very big.
Yeah. Maybe that's like one of these things where it's like, you have one sense that's not as good, but then your other sense is even sharper.
Yeah, they compensate. Yeah. I can't hear for shit, but great emotional know-how. Yeah, it could be. Not a ton of big criers on this season. I feel like we didn't get a lot of like really teary confessionals that we've had in previous seasons.
Did you miss them?
It's interesting. Yeah, I miss them.
Yeah.
I feel like I like a breakdown every once in a while. You gotta have it. I guess we had some of that from Eva, but we have a lot of stoic people, like Kyle, very stoic. Joe's very stoic.
Let me ask you about David, who was one of the most interesting jurors we've ever had in the history of the show, where David ultimately, that he did the bit where he stood up for Mary. He had this scowl on his face. And then he finally speaks at the final tribal council last night and says, knock, knock. And there's a pregnant pause. People don't know how to, and they finally say, who's there? And he said, not me. Good job, you guys. And it turns out that it was a bit, the whole thing. This was like Willy Wonka, like walking out with like a cane, like all decrepit.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. Well, what's interesting is it was a bit the whole time, but I feel like it did influence the decisions of the people in the game because the jury looked so pissed. Like they made decisions or assumptions based on that. Yeah, it was odd. I wonder why he waited to do the bit until the middle of final tribal council, kind of a big moment for the final three. He wanted to bring it back to the knock knock joke. Yeah. David's a very odd guy. He continues to surprise me.
Okay, now what did you think about the moment last night where then they brought out for David? Okay, they have a guy named Steven who is there to bring it. Did you meet Steven when you were there?
The milkman. No, I don't know Steven personally. we didn't do a milk bit, so they didn't have to bring him in. He's a very specialized.
So Steven comes in and he brings in milk, and we learned this about David, that he has a very specific way of drinking, that there is a specific angle that correlates to masculine energy and feminine energy.
Yeah. I don't know how I felt about that. It's a little
I was a little surprised they had it in the show.
Yeah, you'd think that would get cut. It felt a little like BuzzFeed quiz, like what does your milk drinking style say about you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think that needed to be kept in. It felt like a funny bit that was overlaid over some real
like Jeff had a good line at the end, so I don't know if maybe they were like on the fence, but like, Jeff has a pretty quick line at the end, so keep it.
Yeah. Well, they were like, we can't have Steven bring in the milk and then like not show the bit. Like, we had to, they had to like close the loop on it. But yeah, that was I don't know that was critical. How do you drink milk?
I never thought, well, first of all, I don't really drink a lot of milk. So That's
Oh,
part of my problem.
that's your first problem.
But I never had like I feel like the angle of drinking, it seems very mechanical.
Yeah, it was really, it's like you got a protractor out. It's like 45
Mm-hmm.
degrees, 90 degrees. I feel like I'm a I feel like I'm a solid 45 degreeer. You know what I
Okay.
mean?
Good.
Somewhere in the middle.
Split the difference. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
I'll have
not
to ask
gonna
David what that says about me.
I'm probably not gonna like get in my head too much about it.
Yeah. Well, now you can't drink milk at all. You're not gonna be able to drink milk normally for the rest of your life, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, David really what are the chances that David gets a got milk?
I think
Ad?
almost zero. I don't think that they
Zero.
even do that kind of stuff anymore.
This has got to be the biggest milk moment though in years. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
Big Milk will decide it's time to like bring back got milk for the occasion.
Mm-hmm.
Milk, when is milk going to have a bigger moment than this in the
Yeah.
next
Do you think that
5
maybe they could
years?
really run with that of like, hey, drink milk like a man, 90 degrees, or get out of here?
Yeah. Yeah.
How do you
Maybe
drink your
they,
milk?
yeah. Are you masculine or feminine?
Mhm.
Yeah, actually maybe David tanked his chances with that explanation there, but I don't know. I could see it. I could see
Okay.
him with the mustache doing the whole thing.
All right. Another question for you, Frannie, from John. It
Mhm.
says, what does Frannie think of 2 straight seasons where players made big moves late strictly to play to the jury? Did you ever consider or witness something similar? Okay, I guess that John is referring to Rachel's funeral where she played the idol at
Oh.
the final 6. I don't know necessarily if there was like a late move here to play to the jury. I think that the jury's reactions was the reason maybe why they felt good about going with Joe and Eva, but I wouldn't say that there were moves made for the jury.
Yeah, maybe we're thinking about Eva's idol play, which was certainly like performative and not necessary.
But that's happened
Um,
before. We're like, well, it's the last night I can use this, so I guess I'll just play it.
yeah, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, I don't necessarily know that we got that. I was interested in Eva, her final tribal council performance, I thought was really fabulous. Like
Hmm.
she blew me out of the water. I thought she did a really good job. I feel like she really took the she did the Marion Oketch playbook. She like revealed her thing that she had. She said, "You've been underestimating me this whole time, but I've done
Hmm.
this, this, and this." And yeah, I was very impressed with her. I thought it was very snazzy that she got those votes, the 2
It was a big
votes, beat
surprise
Joe.
because I think we thought it was like a Joe versus Kyle race, and then after the final tribal council, I'm like, I don't think that. I guess it's Kyle versus Eva.
Yeah, yeah, I was shocked by that. I think they were all shocked when Joe got the 1 vote. I'm glad that he got a vote because I think it is fun to no longer have the 0 vote finalists. Like that's a really tough place for people. But yeah, the jury was not having it with Joe.
Do you think that
Again, Kyle read it right. He brought
Do you
Joe to
think
the
that the
end.
jury might ever get together and say like, hey, like let's not let anybody have a 0 votes? Okay, who's going to be the one person to cast a vote for the 0 vote person?
See, I feel like that. I mean, maybe, but I feel like that's crazy because you know I felt that it says so much about me, the way that where I put my vote. Like I experienced a lot of final tribal voting anxiety because I was like, people are gonna, psychoanalyze me based on how I do my vote here. And so I feel like nobody would be willing to give up their voting autonomy just for the sake of not
Mhm.
having a 0 vote finalist. I mean, Cedric was willing to do it. But I think if anybody felt coerced into doing it, it'd be like,
Yeah.
well, I'm not going to do that just for Joe.
And Kyle said that he felt like that Cedric was burned by Kyle when that they were at that split tribal council and they ultimately didn't vote for that he did not save Cedric at that vote.
Yeah. I liked the enduring narrative that Cedric just votes for whoever.
Yeah, he just
He
does what he wants.
doesn't really come in with a plan, and
Yeah.
he does not go along with expectations. So he stuck with that right to the very end.
Okay. Franny, anything else on your mind about Survivor 48, 49, 50, beyond?
Yeah. I think that season 48, it had its highs, it had its lows. I think this is a season that will get better with age. I think, 5 years from now, when we rewatch this on a binge, we're gonna like it more, because it's, you know, it's fun to see the through lines that go through the entire season. And if you can kind of speed through some of the slower moments, it is really fun. But yeah, I'm excited for something fresh, something new. 49 is gonna have sweaty energy, I guess. And yeah, I'm so hyped for season 50. Like, I am gonna feel like a kid again, and it cannot come soon enough for me. So
what is it about Survivor 50 that has you the most excited?
Well, I love the kind of like crossover event phenomenon, like, you know, the Avengers, Endgame, Infinity War, where people are coming together from all these different movies. That's what I feel like returning player seasons are. You know, you have these characters built up in your mind, and it's mind-blowing to see them interact. So that's what I'm really excited about. Like, I want to see somebody from, you know, 15 years ago playing with somebody who's in the new era. What does that even look like? Yeah, I'm really ecstatic for it.
Yeah. Do you think that the players from the old era will be able to handle the new era pace?
I think they're going to get a little, I think it depends. Depends on how old era they are. You know what I mean? I think that there are some people who have been rumored who might be a little caught up in the tornado, as it were, of advantages and speed. I shouldn't name any names, and I won't. But yeah, I think that some people will struggle to adjust, but a lot of old era players who I think would be in contention are very astute, and I think they will know how to adapt very well.
Yeah, it'll be fascinating to talk about all summer long. So looking forward to that. All right, Frannie, anything else outside Survivor you want to talk about?
Oh, outside Survivor. Loving living in San Francisco. Oh, we're wrapping up the Dungeons and Dragons podcast.
Yes?
We have,
is it
yeah,
coming to like a, you make it sound like it's coming to a big finale.
It is coming to a big finale. It is not, it was never meant to be like an infinite thing. You know, it's like a narrative arc, and we recorded our final episode. So the arc is coming to a close. The episodes are still coming out. But we will be wrapping that up in terms of releasing probably this summer. And yeah, I just have to say it is like the thing I have created that I am the most proud of in my life. I think it's so cool. I got so much like value out of being a part of it. And
I had a lot
play
of
with
fun the one that I did.
Yes, we had so much fun with you, and like getting to bring people in and see how they interact in that space was so fun. And I just love being a part of it. So big plug for anybody to go listen to it. The cool thing about it is it's not linked to time in any way. It's a story that is not related to what's happening in the real world. So you can listen to it anytime. There's no rush. And thank God for that. Yeah.
Yes.
So Surviving the Dice, go check it out.
All right. Now, I don't know if Debbie doing push-ups is going to crack the list, but you too can vote for the 25 greatest moments in Survivor history. It is time to vote. You can cast your votes. We have selected 100 moments across 48 seasons. You can write in moments if you think that David drinking the milk should be in consideration. You can do write-in votes as well. Rob has a website.com/top25. Voting is open through Tuesday, when we will close the polls, and we will bring you a weekly installment coming up starting every Wednesday in the month of June. Top 25 greatest moments in Survivor history for the 25 years of Survivor. Of course, when Survivor news breaks, go to RHAP, WeKnowSurvivor.com, where you can get all of the information. Make sure you subscribe, because we will have reactions to all the big Survivor news coming this summer. And then, of course, we mentioned it earlier, we've got 2 big live shows coming this fall. Patrons will have first access. Sometimes these tickets end up selling out. Rob is website.com/patron if you want to make sure you get the first word on ticket availability for New York City and San Francisco in Survivor 49. This Friday, I'll be taking questions from the patrons, Frannie. I take live calls from people 3 p.m. Eastern on Friday. We'll close out Survivor 49, and that will be the 48. 48.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, he's getting old.
I skipped the whole season. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
I will, maybe oh no, we'll do Club Condo next week. So not the last word on Survivor 48. If there's any social media shenanigans that come up.
Shenanigans. One more plug for the San Francisco live Know-It-Alls event. I don't know if we'll be able to get her involved, but Kamilla famously lives in the Bay Area.
Oh.
So we want to get her
Hope
insider
she's not busy. Tell her to
thoughts.
save the date.
I'll tell her to save the date. Yeah. We'll get
November
her
5th.
we'll get her in there. Yeah, it's a fun group of people. I'm very, very excited. So
Okay.
hope to see people there.
Yeah. All right. Frannie, anything else coming up for you?
No, just having a, like I said, hype girl summer, hot girl summer. And yeah, trying to figure out what's coming next. That's where we're at.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for joining us here for one last look back on the Survivor 48 finale. I love to read your comments always on the episode. So let us know how you think we did. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye. This is RHAP. We know reality TV.